Hello and welcome to Spilling My Guts, episode 5. It's your host, LifeSpiller79, and this is my podcast. I wanted to talk about a various subject of things. This time around, I just kind of wanted to reach out to you guys, see what y'all wanted to talk about, and kind of the spur of the moment thing. You know, I try to keep these podcasts every other week so I don't burn myself out with not only doing the podcast and all my regular videos and all my other regular content and stuff like that. So I reached out and you guys responded back. So I'm just going to talk about some subjects that you guys wanted me to talk about today. I might slide in a few things as of my interest. I wanted to do a recap. I've been trying to fit this in the podcast, but I always forget to do that. I don't know why. I always try to do the recap of my last videos. The first one I wanted to talk about was the games I bought but haven't played yet. Or actually, the games I bought but haven't played yet. Got an overwhelming response back. A lot of people were saying play Time Splitters, and then some people were saying play Parasite Eve 2, and then some people were saying play Indigo Prophecy. And I heard a lot of people asking me to play Indigo Prophecy, and I had started to play that game when I originally got it, but never played it on an in-depth level. I actually dove into playing another one of my Xbox games, The Suffering, The Ties That Bind. The only thing was it had like a tiny scratch on it. So I got to like a certain point in the game and it just pretty much shut my Xbox down. And so I tried to go back to it. So I'm going to take that, get it cleaned, and then I might go back and play these actual games. But I do thank you guys for your response back, and everybody's feedback has been taken into consideration, and I'm definitely going to try to knock out a lot of the backlog that I have there of some of the more quality titles, because I have a lot of games that I did not mention just because some of them were just games that I played for the day or zipped through or whatever, or never played at all and probably don't have no intentions, because when I would buy all these consoles, or when I was in the midst of buying my consoles, I got them in bulk. So I never really played them all. You know, like the first system that I purchased was my Nintendo. And then I got the PlayStation 2 back. And when I got that, I had got like 20 plus games or something like that. But I never played them all. I tried to go through as many of them as possible. But some of them had like Crash Bandit, and I'm not the biggest Crash Bandit fan. I did play it on the PS1 when my good buddy had it, but never really just played it. And then I like the response that I got back from the Super Nintendo versus Sega Genesis podcast. That my last podcast about almost 2 weeks ago. That one was an overwhelming response. People reacted kind of the typical manner that I expected them to, but really I set that up because, or I initially went into that thinking with that thought process of how a gamer would think as far as taking sides. But really, as a collector, you don't really take sides. You learn to appreciate what both can offer. I mean, graphics wise, let's just be honest. The graphics are just better on Super Nintendo. But titles, they both offered some really quality titles. You know, I, out of preference, just get more time out of my Super Nintendo. And like I've been telling you guys, I've been spending even more time on my Super Nintendo with my son, especially considering the fact that he's liking to play Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat and Fatal Fury. A little bit more of the Mortal Kombat 2 type stuff. But yeah, that's been getting a lot of playtime. That in my Xbox, kind of back and forth situation. I'm thinking about getting the 360 and moving it back in the room, especially with a few of the other subjects in mind. But And then also the shout out video, got an overwhelming response on that. A lot of good feedback. A lot of people said, they sub to those channels, which I'm glad they did, because I don't really shout out channels that I don't think, they don't have to be extraordinary or anything like that, or just mind blowing, but they just got to add that certain element that keeps you locked in. And that's why I mentioned those channels. And a lot of people was like, cool, and then they told me about some other channels that were somewhat similar, or just people I hadn't even heard of. And so I thought that was good. And Rich King Retro, he actually reached out to me the other day, and he told me, he said, man, since the other day I got like 20 new subs, and it could have been coincidence, or it could have just been due to that, but dude has a really, really awesome collection, man. And it's just a build up over a larger period of time that he's accumulated such a massive, massive collection. But he's really, really cool, down to earth kind of guy. And, like I talked about all the other gamers, I just really, really appreciate what they have to offer. Like Erica Zybo, she just did her, I think she did her month of March pickups, and she shows some really interesting items and stuff like that. I'm not into the comic stuff, but she does that. And, like I said, she does the Let's Play, she's getting ready to cross over that and do the podcast and vlogs. And her channel is really, really big as far as just phenomenal. And, you would think, I don't know, it's just like one of those things. Kind of what I've noticed is that a lot of people with large channels, not all of them, but some of them have a tendency to have big egos. And, in reality, when you're standing in front of that camera, it's kind of a vain thing anyway. It's kind of self-absorbed thing, but it's not easy to remain humble. I think whoever you are is just going to come out that much more as your channel grows. And for her, she's so humble and down to earth, and I think she has over 4,000 subscribers or something like that. It's just absurd, the number that she has, but she just brings that certain uniqueness to her channel. So yeah, and all the other channels as well, man. I love all these channels, man, and I just really enjoy them. But yeah, just wanted to do a recap, because I never really go back and kind of elaborate on my thought process at that time, or how I was feeling with why I did that. And like I said, the games I bought was just that video was just more of a walking through my collection and just looking at what I have and haven't played, and been trying to keep it in the midst of doing that, making it a thing to go back and play that. Before I get into other topics, I just wanted to talk about my good boy Edge Eyes. I don't know the ongoing situation. I don't know if it's a split. I don't know if they broke off mutually, or he's still with the channel. But we've been talking, and I'm just gonna bring it up. He's eventually going to launch a channel, so be on the lookout for it. He used to be with Fell Good Inc., and he's trying to break off and do his own thing, which I understand. And I told him, man, once you get everything like going, I'm gonna definitely shout out your channel and make sure everybody knows about it, and get it out there in the loop. And so yeah, but the name of his channel, he already got his channel up, but he haven't put his videos up yet. So I guess he's in the works of that. He's said he's learning some new software and programs and stuff like that, and because he wants this to be good. And I understand that. I work with the resources that I have. I'm kind of limited on the things that I have. It's just that certain equipment, certain software is expensive, and what I have a mind to do versus what I'm limited to do is two different things. So I just work with what I got and give you guys the best that I have. And for the most part, I'm able to do that. I feel like my channel is not at the level I want it to be, because I look at a lot of other channels. I don't necessarily get envious. I just look at it, and it gives me something to strive towards or look forward to, because what they're doing, I say to myself, is something very simplistic, or something very simple. I know I can do that. And it's just like, I don't have the means. But a lot of people always come back and feedback, when I hit them up, and I'll be like, hey, what software are you using? They'll tell me, and they'll be like, but it is a complicated thing to use, and you really just got to put in the time. And at this level right now, I like to be able to drop videos whenever I want to, because I plan on dropping this podcast sometime this week. You know, I try to stay consistent, at least dropping a video. I wanted to make it a thing of doing 2 videos a week, but realistically, it's not always easy. Some weeks it is and some weeks it's not. And then I want to try to stretch out, so I don't stretch it out a little bit, like the days in between, not too close to where one doesn't get seen and the other one kind of gets left in the shuffle, because I got faithful subscribers, I got faithful viewers, and then you got people that's just stumbling on your channel for the first time. So you kind of want to give them a chance to see everything. And so by not putting everything just like one day here and then 3 days later or 2 days later, they get to see that, let it marinate for a little while and let it circulate through the gaming community a little bit. But yeah, some of those things are just on my head, and I just happened to be glancing through the articles and found out that The Last of Us, if you don't know, I'm telling you today, is that it's coming to the PS4. It's going to include all the DLC and all content. But what's really cool is that there's a possible chance, and we're just going to go with this possible chance because it hasn't been made official, is that they're in the talks of basically giving you a discounted price, because the initial price for it is $60. And I think it said it's coming out in May for the PS4. But they said if you previously owned it for the PS3, and they haven't given all the details and anything, but I think anytime they talk about something, that means it's been taken in consideration. So I would just lean on the fence on it. Don't just automatically jump all the way over to the other side or be opposed to the idea, though it's not going to happen. It's a possibility. So let's just leave it at that. But I think it's pretty cool, because that's just another game that was really awesome that I loved playing last year, and I really want to get it back. I traded it off like probably a couple months after I had it, or I think actually right after I beat it, I traded it in. I got like a $30-$40 store credit for it because it was still high up. So I took advantage of that, bought a bunch of other games. And ironically, I actually got the game on a trade anyway. I traded in like 4 or 5 of my games at that time and pretty much didn't have to pay for it. I just got it off of store credit. So I thought that was pretty cool. And kind of moving or transitioning more into the feedback that I got from you guys on what y'all would like me to talk about. My childhood adult memories. My good buddy Megatron, or Mark Elliott, he hit me up and he was like, man, what are some of your top 10 childhood memories? I can't remember them all. I was going to say childhood / adult memories, gaming memories. Some recent stuff. I remember my anticipation level that was building up for GTA 5. And I remember, and that was like last year, some time ago, hearing about the release date and everything, and people going on and on about it, because I'm a big GTA fan. Love it, leave it, hate it, whatever. You know, you take it for what it's worth. I love all the games, and I pretty much have them all. I think there's only like the GTA London and Chinatown and Liberty City stores, the only ones that I don't have at this precise moment. I'm working on getting those. I just rather will find them out in the wild than even worry about them right now. So, yeah, that's why I haven't picked them up yet. But some of my that's one of my memories. I was anticipating that, and I actually went to the midnight release. And I normally go to this one GameStop. It's kind of in a secluded area where a lot of people don't go shopping at, or they don't pre-order stuff. Because like when I pre-ordered, and this was another one of my memories, I don't know where I want to mark it at, but it's just somewhere within that range of the 1 through 10. When I did when I got the God of War collection, or God of War 3, not the Ascension, because that one wasn't as big. I wasn't anticipating that, or that wasn't like a big memory. But both of these games, GTA 5 and God of War 3, God of War 3 I actually got the special edition, or the collector's edition, with the Pandora's box, heavy metal soundtrack, downloadable costumes, extra DLC, the art book, which I still have. I'm gonna have to get that Pandora's box back. My wife kind of got creeped out by the shit, and so I got rid of it. But I think now she's a little bit more susceptible to the idea that I'm a collector, and this was before I really like started collecting. So anyway, yeah, those two stood out to me because the God of War 3, this store, like I said, this particular store, it's normally in a secluded area, and a lot of people don't pre-order from this place, and especially when they do like the midnight release, they go to different stores. So when I did the God of War 3, I was able to walk in and out of the store with no problem at all. I mean, midnight barely hit. They already had got my receipt. They marked it. I walked out with my big black box and had my God of War 3, and I played it that night. I played probably about 3 or 4 hours, but my GTA 5, when I went to pick that up, man, it was lines upon lines upon lines, and it was so many lines that they had to break you off in sections. And I think I was in, or groups, I should say, and I think I was in group 12, and I think each group probably had about 50 to 100 people, something like that. So for this small little store that was in this secluded location, it just built that much more of an anticipation to play the game. Like, man, you knew you were on the brink of something big. And so when it came out that night, man, I probably played about 5 or 6 that morning. I actually bought me some energy drinks and everything. Yeah, I played almost to the next day. I even took the day off from work, or planned off well ahead of time. But, and I think I just took one day off. But for God of War 3, I actually took off the week and I beat it by the end of the week. I think I beat it by that Friday or something like that. And that's all I did. I came home, played. Well, I didn't even have to come home and play. I played it constantly on my PS3. I put in a lot of time on that one. I put a lot of time in on GTA 5. It took me a couple months because I think I would put it down and pick it up, put it down, pick it up, and whatnot. Plus, my schedule is a lot busier now than it was back then when I played God of War 3. Of course, another one of my memories was the Christmas of '92 when I got my Super Nintendo. The anticipation, just hearing so much good information about it. I hadn't even seen it live. Like, I hadn't even seen it physically in my own hands. I think I went up to the store and they had one of those little displays or something. I couldn't even recall. But I just found Super Mario World to be one of the most extraordinary games at that time. And to be going through so much, and I think that's why it's such a big memory for me. And that's one thing we talked about in our collections show and tell with collections.com. They've been doing like these Google Hangouts where all these people pretty much get together across the world. And shameless plug here, but May 3rd, they're having another one. And the last time it was me, Lee, Gabriel, Mark, which I call Mega, Corey, and 2 other dudes that was there as well. And we all kind of showcased some special stuff in our collection, you know, and that, to me, that's a big gaming memory. Even though it's recent, that was a pretty big deal. But yeah, just kind of sidetracking back to the Super Nintendo. Don't want to get off too far, but that's another memory. But yeah, the Christmas '92 was very special. Getting that Super Nintendo kind of gave me the opportunity to just look and think about other things. Those times that you'll never forget, you know, just kind of helped me through a lot of dark periods in my life, and a lot of crazy stuff that would just go on, and it just gave me a means of escape. And that's why I even came up with the talking about the show and tell thing that we did over Google Plus, the Hangout. And we have another one playing, like I said, on May 3rd. But that one was pretty awesome that we just did recently. I think it was the first Saturday in April. And I actually didn't have plans to join in because I didn't know if my equipment was going to work or it was going to be a problem. But it turned out really good. I got to meet some really good, cool dudes, and other people actually got to see us and stuff like that, and people that I didn't know, and end up bonding really well because it's just some like-minded people. And so that is definitely one of the biggest memories that'll stand out for me for a long, long time. Everybody kind of brought something that meant something to them. And Gabriel actually, he said something that just, I don't know, it just impacted me in such a way that I'll never forget that. I won't forget none of those guys either, man. It's one of those things that you'll never forget. It's kind of awesome. But he showed us basically a flight, trying to think of the correct way. Oh, flight simulator kind of thing. And it came out, I remember that I actually remember seeing one of those, and it was expensive at the time for the PC, but he had the actual controls, the whole entire assembly there. I mean, it was all assembled together and everything. And he just even opened up and talked about the passing of his father and how much at that time he needed that mental escape. And he just said something to me. It was profound. He said that every piece of item that we have in our collection has some sort of memory attached to it. And that's why it's personal, and it'll forever be something. I remember talking with somebody this week who was just telling me that they didn't really like Beyond Good and Evil. And at first I was like objective to the thought of somebody not liking it, but then I'm the type of person, I want to know why. I don't want to just hear why you don't like it. I want to know, and shout out to my boy if he ever hears this podcast, Annihilation. He's a good buddy. He's working on his website, and him and I have been talking for probably about a half a year, almost a year. We just stumbled on each other. I actually met him through posting a picture of my God of War Ascension collection. And he said he didn't, he said he wasn't a fan of God of War. And if anybody knows me, I'm a big fan. Like, out of my collections, that is like one of my pride and joy. But I didn't take it the wrong way when he said that. I wanted to know why. I'm more on the curious side of trying to understand why somebody doesn't like something. See, we get to a point where we get so defensive that we shut out the idea that somebody having their own opinion, and an opinion is just their own thought. And you have to not get so far invested to where can't nobody talk about this or can't nobody talk bad about that. And just like I was saying about the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis thing. So yeah, that was another big moment, was the Super Nintendo, and then also the Hangout, man, being able to do a video chat with the CEO of Collections. Dude, about this point now, it's been about 6 months that we've actually been working together. And it's funny just to your mind tries to bend towards that direction where you can comprehend the idea of being able to video chat with somebody that you don't have to be over the phone physically with, but you actually get to see them, you having conversations. And we laughed so hard and we had such a good time, man. We talked, all of us was on there for like 3 hours, but I was on there for 3 hours. They was on there, I don't know how many hours afterwards. I kept dipping back in because at one point I had to leave because my wife had to get something to eat. And so I left the conversation after the 2 hour session was over. We talked for another additional hour. And after that additional hour, I was done. But we actually got to talk with an indie developer, and he just kind of took us through the whole thing of the process of working with the music director, the engineer, the programmer. I mean, it was only 3 people, and I just thought that was so phenomenal that 3 people worked on this one game. And I wish I had my Xbox 360 So I could have downloaded a game. I forgot to ask him did he ever have the thought or the idea of bringing it to the PlayStation, because I would download it in a second. And that just kind of brings me into the subject at hand. I just randomly did it today. Just wanted to see who was going to respond back, and that was one of the questions from my good boy Megatron. He just hit me up and asked me some of my good memories and stuff, gaming memories. And those were some of my gaming memories. But I actually thought this was from somebody else that I knew, and it wasn't. It was actually from somebody else. It was actually, and that's I guess to me, that's the power of the internet. It's so big that we don't know what kind of impact, how our words are affecting people, where our videos or our just anything that we put out there on the internet, how far it's going. But I just asked a question. I said, man, I'm trying to come up with a topic for my podcast. And so I said, if you got any ideas, just hit me up and I'll make sure to mention you. So anyway, somebody hit me up, and I thought it was one of my boys from collections.com, because his symbol almost looked, from a distance, it looked almost the same. And he gave me this link to reddit.com, and it was talking about the Indiebox. And the Indiebox is kind of like the Loot Crate. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. They basically, you sign up, you do a subscription thing where they send you all this great material, like books and toys and gadgets and all kinds of stuff. And they send you something special every single month. Well, the Loot or the Indiebox, if you don't know, is kind of the same thing where they send you a bunch of stuff. What they basically do is craft like nostalgia filled items in there. They'll send you only the highest quality indie games. They're going to use like a USB game cartridge, soundtrack CD, a color manual, posters, stickers, and more. And every game that they ship will is either Windows, Mac, or Linux compatible. And it's going to be sent to your home every month. And so you have the option of basically having it sent to you. I mean, you can do a 1 month thing, 6 months, or a year, and they break it down in pricing and stuff like that. I kind of want to see where this goes, because I want to see, and like I was telling you about the indie thing, I am a big supporter of indie games. You know, just like I was telling you about actually his name was Angry. If you go on collections.com, you'll see him. His name is Angry Gamers. And he got like a red face with a like an angry look on his face. The Angry Gamers has like a TurboGrafx 16 logo look, but except for he got Angry Gamers on it, and he's an independent or indie developer. But yeah, this Indiebox sounds like a really cool concept, but I want to see everything. And actually, the person that runs this reached out to me, so I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, it doesn't matter the scale, whether they're on a small scale, big scale, whatever. I mean, to me, the fact that you even took time to read what I posted and responded back speaks volumes to me. So I just want to reach out back, and he hit me back up on Twitter. As a matter of fact, the name of the product is called the Indiebox, and his Twitter handle is Indiebox as well. So you can check it out. I'll try to make sure to leave a link down in the description about it. And but yeah, it looks like a pretty cool concept, because I'm big into indie games, and they actually have like because the old school way is that we had the boxes. We had the actual boxes that we could use and stuff like that, but digital or indie games are digital, so you don't have that, but they want to send you all this stuff in a box. And so I advise you by all means to check it out. I think it's going to be a really cool concept, and like I said, we really need to support these indie gamers, because they are the last of the being able to kind of rock out and do what you want to do. That's why I celebrate the moments, just like with Irrational Games. The CEO stepped down, and Now he's going to move into transition into that. You know, we got a lot of indie games out there that can be appreciated. You know, only what's that? I think it was called Two Brothers. I've yet to download it. I played the demo, and the demo is phenomenal. I'll probably go ahead and purchase that. I'm playing through Fez. It's a really good game. There's some things that's kind of lacking, and to me, I think for me, it's like a linear game where you have only one direction to go, but then it tries to do the open world thing to a certain extent. But there is a mix of confusion that lies within it, because every beginning has an end. And even though you've accumulated so much, like we know now games, you don't have to necessarily max out at 100% to walk out the game and complete it. But this game doesn't, you know, there's a point where you kind of get lost with being able to cross between certain worlds, going through like it's like a TV screen or something like that, or a computer screen. But the game itself, the concept, the thought process, the graphics, the storyline, the music, it'll forever, mesmerize the brain. It'll forever be with me. But there are things that is lacking, and I can be honest about that. But yeah, man, we need to support these indie gamers. I'm still waiting on Mighty Number 9, which is the same creator of Mega Man, and I'm a big Mega Man fan. I'm still I want to get the tattoo. I want to get a pixelated tattoo on my arm of a lot of old 8-bit characters. There's one guy that's a really extraordinary tattoo artist. He did one of the guy's arms at one of the local GameStop stores that I go to, and I actually have died down on doing that. I don't really go to GameStop as much. If anything, I shop off the clearance rack, try to get everything that's like under $5 or $10. I don't really shop there as much anymore. Nothing's appealing to me as much as it used to be. More of the retro stuff that I've never played, games that I finally can go back and play and afford and stuff like that. But the another person that reached out to me was my good boy Tim McKay, and he asked me about give me a second here. And just tell me what you think about the Indiebox, the concept, the idea, if you actually gone back and read it and seen what it looks like, and what do you think? And he reached out and asked me about clone consoles. You know, a lot of these consoles that look like the Nintendo or the Super Nintendo, they're able to play it. But he asked me about the Retron 5 and my thought process and how I feel about that. Because the Retron 5 has 5 slots in it. And the reason why is because it can play NES games, Super Nintendo, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Sega Genesis, and Famicom. So pretty much it's an open slot for those 5 type of games. And I've always wanted the Famicom or the Super Nintendo, you know, the Japanese version of the Super Nintendo. And what do I think about it? I think it's phenomenal, because if you guys have seen my setup, I love it. It's awesome. But the cords can be a little bit of a hindrance, of a problem. And then the plugs, you know, switching those out. I've actually got pretty much all of them plugged up, so I really don't even have to unplug anything. I just have to hit a button. But to be able to have it all on one slot, I think that would be, or one console, like a lot of my major consoles on one, that would open up room for other consoles to come back here. Because I'm thinking about getting a second PS3. I've been looking for another one, to have one back here. So then if I ever want to go to the current stuff, what I consider current, not necessarily PS4, I would be able to go through that. But it's been going through, I've actually been keeping up with this for, surprisingly enough, even when he asked me that, I started laughing. I was like, oh my God, that's funny. He even asked me about the Retron 5, because I've been thinking about that for a long time. And I've been keeping up, and unfortunately it's been going through a lot of delays, and it's supposed to come out in April, at the end of this month, but we don't know. So we'll have to see. Yeah, I can't wait to see what actually happens with that and how it all turns out. like I said, it's supposed to come out at the end of this month. So we're going to see what happens and how that all turns out. I definitely want one. And if I do get one, I'll do an unveiling and just talk about it in depth and stuff like that. And talk about the pros and cons and stuff like that and what's appealing. From the concept of what I've seen, even last year, it's still somewhat of the same. It's got the 5 slots. And I've actually seen the Retron 3 and I almost picked it up. And just like he's saying about the clone consoles, I seen a clone handheld, and I should have looked it up, and I meant to. It actually plays like Super Nintendo, and I think it plays Sega Genesis. And it's like the one I seen, it was a black one for like $65. I actually saw one at a convention last year. It was $100, and I was like, oh no, I ain't paying $100 for that when I can get me tons and tons of games. So I passed on it at that time. And I think it's still on display in a glass case at one of the little stores, local stores that I shop at. But and I'm gonna start trying to post more stuff to my Facebook page, and it's gonna be facebook.com /LifeSpiller79. I've been more active on there than I have last year, and I've been trying to be more active in all areas. The only one I'm probably not active on as much as I was before in the beginning is Instagram. I'm active on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, of course, collections.com. Google Plus, I've been more active on there. I'm into the retro community, gaming community, PlayStation community, Xbox. A lot of people have been reaching out to me, and so I've just been trying to stay as active as possible and just read all kinds of news articles and just stay in the loops of everything that's going on around me. But yeah, man, those are the topics that was reached out to me. I didn't want to take too long or go into it too long, but yeah, man, some pretty interesting stuff, man. Like I said, the Indiebox, that's really cool concept idea. In the news, gaming news, PlayStation 4, of course, like I said, it hit over 7 million. So it's about 1 million over the Wii U at this point, because Wii U is at about 6 million. Let's see, Infamous Second Son is still doing really well. Did 100,000 this week. It's at number 2. I forgot what number 1 is. Not Diablo. I can't even think of the game right now. The PS4 is still dominating in all regions. I mean, it's killing. It's doing 100,000, 100 to 150,000 a week worldwide, and that's phenomenal. I mean, it's probably realistically doing more than that if it's popping out 1 million. I mean, it's pretty awesome. Some weeks I think it's just going up and higher, and then it kind of balances out. Because at this point, it could be doing, if you average it out, it'd probably do about 250 in order to do about 1 million in a month or something like that. But yeah, man, that's my episode of Spilling My Guts, man. And I don't really have nothing to rant about. If anything, a lot of people have actually been hitting me up on something, and not necessarily they just been chiming in on things that I do that sometimes they wish other people would do. I think it's more of the, and I've mentioned this probably in my videos or in other podcasts, just the respect that we have towards each other, and going back to the things that made your video popular. And I don't know how to react to people always saying that, as far as like the shout out videos. Some people feel like that's a trade, or that's something that people have gotten away from. But at the same time, like I said, I'm an overall kind of guy, and it's just hard to think, how would I react to that situation if it was me? Because once your channel reaches a certain peak, it's hard to just shout out certain channels, because some people start to feel excluded, and some folks start to take it personal. I don't know. I myself, I want to pave my own road and do my own thing, and I always want to mention those other channels out there and keep that circulation. I was telling my good buddy Edge Eyes, like I was mentioning him earlier, is that, man, it's the gift that keeps on giving. So you have to do that. You got to continuously do that cycle. You can't forget the things that got you started. Because when I started out my channel, I was only doing pickup videos. Then I transitioned into doing a little bit of reviews here and there. And then I kind of went into the video response. And then this year I just been on a different kick. And I said, man, I'm going to hit 500 plus and I'm going to go beyond that and keep going. But then I crossed over to doing a podcast, and now I'm doing the Google Hangouts, and other people been hitting me up, and I told them, just tell me the time, man. We'll knock it out. And the only big thing is the difference in our time zone, because some people are in other countries and I'm over here in the States. It's like 5-6 hour differences and stuff like that. So we'll just have to see. But yeah, man, I started out doing one thing, and I really want to start doing not only all this stuff, because I want to continuously do all of those things, because I like to do a diversity or a range of things. But I also want to start doing news, like gaming news, because people always tell me they like my voice, and I appreciate that. But I have so many thoughts that run through my head, and I want to do the screen capture thing where I'm able to not only talk about the subject, but able to show a picture of it at the same time. And like one of the channels, I didn't even know if I was subscribed to it or not. I think I hit the subscribe button, but AI, he's kind of what the concept of what I want to do, kind of laid back, jokeful, because I'm really silly at times. And but I don't always get to do that, because some of the videos I don't get to just do it the way I really want to do it, you know. But yeah, that's another area I want to dive into. So if anybody want to donate a camera, well, not a camera, but the proper software, laptop, or hit me up on a certain price, a reasonable price or something like that. But I don't want to run too long. We're already at 40 plus. But yeah, man, that was great. I'm glad people reached out. It lets me know that people do care and people are listening. Other than that, this is my 5th episode of Spilling My Guts. I'm Lifestyle 79, and I'm out.